Hey guys, and welcome to the first video of Rainbow Six Siege Academy, my new series where I'm going to be teaching you the basics and some of the more advanced stuff that I want to teach you in Rainbow Six Siege. If you like this series and if you want to keep it going, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. I also stream on Twitch, that is twitch.tv/reverse_FPS. If you have any questions or you just want to hang out, you can find me there. And without further ado, let's get into the video. So, when you first open Siege, you're gonna get this loading screen, of course, and also every other time when you're gonna open Siege. So, first thing that you want to do is basically go into your options. I'm just gonna turn on my audio. When it comes to these settings, there's not really that much that you want to change, really. The only things that I would recommend is the drone after prep to be automatic, because if you have it on semi-automatic, it's gonna exit the drone unless it was your own drone. If you have it on manual, you're just gonna stay in your drone unless it gets destroyed. Match replay doesn't really matter. Text channel is just preference if you wanna, talk only with your team or if you want it disabled. I just keep it on all. Cross-play matchmaking, it doesn't really matter right now. I just have it on. And cross-play communication is also on. You have matchmaking preferences. Quick match, I just have them on just because I don't feel like waiting a while to queue for a quick match if I do that. For training grounds, this got reset, but usually what I have is only elimination. But then when I'm gonna be making a Deacon guide, again, I'm gonna be explaining why elimination and disarm bomb are basically the best modes to play Siege Dehunt in. Training grounds, weapon damage, I just have it on default. I don't really use headshot only. And then you just choose the map which you like to play. I'm also gonna explain this in the upcoming video for Dehunt. Audio, you can just choose your language that you want to use. I just use English. Subtitles, I have them on. If you're a beginning player, you can have them on just because you can kind of get familiar with voice lines and what the operator is kind of like speaking them. So like you might memorize the operator a bit faster. Music, just have it on 0. The music isn't really that good in Siege. Dynamic range, I recommend night mode, and a lot of people will recommend night mode or hi-fi, but I just prefer night mode. I've been using it for a while and it's just good, for me at least. Voice chat 100 unless it's too loud for you. Mute on unfocused, this is basically just mutes the audio if you tap out of the game. Then you have push to talk. Please have it on push to talk, because if you have it on open, I swear to God, somebody will want to kill you. And these are just like your threshold and your record level, so I just keep them on 75. For display, it really just depends on which monitor you have. So my gaming monitor that I use is 144Hz. If you don't have a 144Hz monitor, I really suggest that you save your money and buy one, because it's gonna make a huge difference if you have a 60Hz one. I've used a 60Hz monitor and I can really tell you that in Siege it makes a significant difference if you have a 144 comparing it to a 60Hz. Resolution, I recommend 1920 by 1080, so full HD. Aspect ratio, I kind of recommend just like playing around and seeing which one you prefer the most. For the majority of time, I used to use 16 by 9 or 5.4 as well. I mean 5.3. But like recently I just switched to 4:3. FPS limit, keep it off. Widescreen letterbox off. FOV. People have it on 90, I just have it on 85. It just suits me well. But display area should be on 100. Graphics, they should be basically set up so your PC has at least 70 to 80 FPS when you are in game. At least. I know that a lot of people don't have a good PC. Mine isn't exactly amazing, but it runs the game well, so I can have these settings. If you have a good enough PC, you can just copy these settings. Also, there should be on plus boost. This got reset as well for some reason. I'm not gonna walk you over what each setting does, but I will just tell you which ones to... I'll just show you what my settings are, and you can just copy them. So texture quality high, texture filtering 8x, LOD quality very high, shading low, shadow quality high. This one's really important because shadows are going to allow you to see the enemy team a bit easier if they're like standing near a light. You're basically gonna be able to see their shadow, so you kind of have an idea if they're close or not. Reflection quality low, VFX low, unless you're like doing a frag movie or something, then you can have it on high. Ambient off, lens effect off, zoom in depth of field off, anti-aliasing off, depth of render scale target FPS. I have it on 0. This is usually for every game. You want to keep this on 0. Render scaling 100, TA sharpness 100, and that's pretty much it for the graphic settings. Controls. Here you're gonna basically find your sensitivity. It kinda is connected with your display. The way that you're really gonna find your sensitivity that you're gonna be using and gonna be comfortable with in the beginning is honestly gonna be just by copying a pro player. If you've played FPS games before, you're gonna know which DPI you like to use, if it's 400, 600, 800 or even more, just depends. For myself, I have a high DPI, so it's 800. I recently did change it a little bit, so it's like 700 or 750, and then you just decide which horizontal and vertical sensitivity you want to use. But what I do recommend is by just having these as the same number. It really just comes down to muscle memory. So like when you move your mouse up and to the left, it's gonna feel the same. You're not gonna have to drag your mouse up more or less, if you know what I mean. If you have like, I know, this at 45, it's gonna be like much faster for vertical. So just don't do that. Raw input should be on. Usually in FPS games you just have it on off, but here I just keep it on. Inversion off. Mouse scroll enabled. I just have this for like swapping between gadgets and stuff like that. Gadget deployment should be on advanced. Drone deployment advanced. Aim hold. Some people will use toggle, I just prefer hold. Lean toggle. Again, people will use hold, but just have it on toggle. It's a bit more controllable and also more comfortable when you play, at least in the beginning. If you, of course, if you want, you can change any of these settings, but this is just like when you don't know what stuff does, it really just helps to just keep them on default, and if something bothers you, you can just change it, of course. Sprint hold, because when you if you have it on toggle, you're gonna have to press shift again, or whichever key you have assigned to sprinting. With hold, you just let go of shift and you're gonna stop sprinting. Crouch, toggle, prone, toggle, walk, hold. I don't play on a controller or a console, so I just have this as it is. I don't really change this. And then accessibility is basically just your crosshair, so you can have it on color brightness mode, or if you don't have that, or if you don't want to use that, you just pick a color. I recommend not using something like red, or white or black, because the thing with red crosshairs is that you're kind of not gonna be able to see them on areas where, for example, on cafe on red stairs, because the stairs are red and you're kind of not gonna see the crosshair and you might just get confused, because for the most part I use a red crosshair, especially in the beginning when we didn't have this option. You would basically have this, so the default. So reflex scopes would be green and every other scope would be red. It just comes down to visibility basically. So what most people use is turquoise because it kind of like stands out the most, but white isn't that bad either. Just don't mess around with the opacity though. For chat assistance and things like this, it really just depends what you like. If you want hints and stuff like that, go for it. If you don't, then chat scale 100, you can, as you can see, it will just change the size of the chat. And then just, if you want the chat in game to be transparent, semi-transparent or opaque, I just have to have it on this because it's more visible. And that's pretty much it for the settings. So this is basically the first thing that you want to do when you open Siege. Keep in mind that in this game, launch options, stuff like that, don't really help you. And also the whole software thing where it boosts your FPS if you have like a bad PC and stuff like that. If I'm honest, they don't really help. I've used the Razer stuff and all kinds of that. It just does not work. If you have a bad PC, this game is gonna be a challenge to run, because the optimization is, it's okay, but like it could be better. So if you have a bad PC, what I'm gonna recommend is just having most of the graphics settings on low, except for shadow and texture filtering and also texture quality. For everything else, it doesn't really matter, but like you kind of like experiment. I'm coming from a point where I've also had a quote-unquote gaming laptop, and it's not exactly gonna help like trying to max out everything, or if you put everything on low, it's gonna be really hard to play this game because visibility is a huge part in this game. So just keep that in mind. If you have a bad PC, as I said, if you want to continue playing this game, I really recommend like investing into better PC once you can. But until then, just, you know, just try to improve. And yeah, so this is basically the first video in the series, so it's only going to be settings. In the second video, I'm gonna go into operators. So just what you want to buy, because when you start off you don't have every operator, of course. You only have the pathfinders, so it's only up to IQ on attack and only up to bandit on defense. So we're gonna go into operators in the next video, but until then, I appreciate you watching this video. If you still haven't, subscribe, it's free, leave a like. Again, I appreciate you very much, and as always, good luck in your game.